I was on my phone the other day and I bumped into, I don't know if it was on Reddit. It might have been on Reddit. And I saw an image of a page on a book. And the book was basically saying to repeat the phrase, I think highly of myself, as like a new way of thinking. And then I started thinking more about why am I sort of not for affirmations all the time. I noticed that just within me, I have this like resistance to repeating something over and over again. It just doesn't add up to me. And here's the difference. Here's the difference between Neville's work and, because Neville would say not to use vain repetitions or leave these schools of thought that just tell you to deny over and over or affirm over and over. And the reason the reason he says that, like, I couldn't articulate it too well, but here's how I can describe it. It's not about saying the words, I think highly of myself. It's about actually doing it. And then let me give an illustration. It's not about saying the words, I'm a great artist. Well, let's say let's say you're a painter. I like to paint. Let's say you want to paint well, or you want to paint to the ability that you find beautiful. But I don't know, for some reason you think you can't, or maybe you can. I don't know. But it doesn't really matter. We're talking about just the internal. It's not about going inside yourself and saying the words, I'm a great artist. Although that's not necessarily harmful. It's just you'd want to start actively being that. So you would actually start painting in your mind, painting the things you want to paint, how you want to paint them. Every artist paints a little bit differently, right? So you find your way and you start doing it how you like to see it. It's not about saying the words, I'm loved. It's about receiving it in your mind, giving it in your mind. So you put yourself in, it's like an active participation. Does that make, I'm trying to say how it's a little bit different than just repeating the words. Anyone can repeat words. And really, you might, after a certain while, you're not going to feel these words to be true. They're just going to feel empty. But when you actively partake and participate in your imagination, doing the thing you want to do, being that thing that you're claiming, that's the difference between Neville's work and sort of denials and affirmations. And this is why I think it's just a more developed view, because on the one hand, you're when you're trying to affirm, you're almost in a sense trying to believe something. But if you're trying to believe that you're a great artist, but if you see yourself actually performing or doing the art that you want to do, there's really no question anymore. There's really no doubt. It's not about whether or not you doubt it or you fully believe it. It's about participating or experiencing it in your mind, experiencing yourself that way, painting that way. Now, painting and artistry right now, these are just metaphors for desire. You can change it to anything, right? So that's how I see it. You want to start actually doing things in your imagination as if you were that thing. That's the difference. That's thinking of versus thinking from. Thinking from, if you are a great artist, you would just start to do great art in your imagination. And then what would happen naturally is that we express what's within us, right? It's not what goes into a man that defiles him, it's what comes out of him. So, it's what comes out of us that determines our lives. And what comes out of us is what we hold true in imagination about ourselves. So it's about changing who we are inside of ourselves. Or I should say, changing who we are in imagination. It's just the same way the example I gave, or the example that Neville gave, is the example of, if you imagine yourself chained to a bench and you want to be free, let's say you imagine yourself right now chained. Are you going to repeat to yourself, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free? And the answer is no. What you do is you imagine yourself running, because running implies freedom from that position, right? So that's the difference between thinking of something versus thinking from it. From it would be that you're running, because it implies freedom. So it's not necessarily about repeating the words. It's about doing what those words imply, or being what those words imply. Seeing what is implied. That is really what this is about. and you start participating in that. So you're not coming at it as a standpoint from trying to be it in the mind. You're already that thing, and you're seeing life from that position, and you start participating from that position. And so that's really I guess I don't want to make this too long, but that's just the way I would clarify always affirming something versus, and I'm not saying things are bad. I'm not saying you can do whatever you want. I'm more just saying that if you, just from speaking from experience and also speaking from studying Neville's work for so long, that's just what you notice is that there is a difference. It's nuanced, but it's important that you start participating, doing the thing you want to do, rather than just repeating words. You want to actually start doing it. You'll notice that when you start to do that, you get comfortable with it. And then you start to express this. You won't really doubt it. You're not really going to question it anymore. It's going to be a part of who you are. Just the same way what you are right now is a part of who you are. It's just a part that's become natural. You've been persuaded enough times by it to believe it's who you are. And so I'm just going to end that one here. I don't want to make this one too long. I hope that provided some clarity on the differences that I see between sort of just living in denials or constantly affirming versus actually doing it in the imagination. I hope you can see the difference that I'm trying to say. But yeah, I mean, thank you guys for the support. If you're interested in my books or email or my live stream, just go to the description. It's all there. But okay, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for listening.